Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Electron. I'm not usually one to jump into big topics as I am a small timer who would be shouting into the noise. However, I am a huge Pokemon fan. I have played almost every version in every generation, and despite my nonchalant attitude towards Pokemon Go, I'm still playing it as well, as having played most of the side games for Pokemon. I'm also a consumer advocate, but sometimes I need to jump in to defend a developer, mostly because I have spoken with many of them in the past and have dabbled enough programming to understand their side of things. Now, I am running a little behind on this because as I was coming up with things to say, there was an announcement with more Pokemon Sword and Shield information, and I wanted to make sure there wasn't anything announced that would conflict with my statements or back what I was saying. On top of that, this only came across my radar recently. So without further ado, let's get into it. Back at E3 this year, Game Freak announced that Pokemon Sword and Shield, as well as future titles moving forward, will not have the National Pokédex. The reason behind this was there are too many Pokemon to balance and keep the models up to date. At the time, I thought very little of it. I understand that this is an issue that the developer would eventually have to face. Not to mention, this doesn't seem all that bad considering having the post-game content only being you collect all 800 plus Pokemon does get tedious after a while. So what is the controversy all about? Well, it seems like Game Freak may have not been completely honest with regarding the whole redesigning the models. As it turns out, several people across YouTube have demonstrated the ease in which they can transfer Nintendo DS models to the Nintendo Switch, along with pointing out that Game Freak supposedly future-proofed the models for each Pokemon moving forward. To further conflate the issue, many people are also claiming the graphics for Pokemon Sword and Shield do not look all that updated from Sun and Moon, which was originally slated for the Switch. So what is Nintendo and Game Freak doing with the most valuable franchise in the world? Many have stated that this is due to time constraints. Pokemon has appeared to move to a yearly release schedule, as well as having to tie in with anime and film release timing. That Game Freak acquire more resources or look to allowing other developers to license out the property. This may not be as simple as it seems. The Pokemon Company, the official owner of the franchise, in a similar fashion to Games Workshop with the Warhammer franchise, appears to be very conservative when it comes to the franchise, understanding its value and respecting the property it owns. As a result, in both cases, licensing of the IP is not handed out to just any old game developer to build upon the franchise, which can be more than said for many other companies and their franchises. YouTuber Arlo mentions in a brief attempt to defend Game Freak that Dynamax models may be responsible. The issue here is this looks more like that all be done was enlarging the models. However, after I went back through the trailers, I noticed that Arlo missed something: Gigantamax. At the time of recording, we don't exactly know what is entailed with Gigantamax, except that it does change the model of the Pokemon, and that it has some certain requirements. As to which Pokemon are capable of this at the time of recording, only 3 Pokemon have been confirmed. While Game Freak may not be investing a lot into the visual aspect of the game, they may be in fact investing a lot more behind the scenes. And while there isn't a larger number of new features in this generation of Pokemon, mostly just Dynamax and Pokejobs, I refer back to my previous claim that Game Freak are very cautious about the series, and are opting to spend more time developing and polishing this feature to ensure little to no further work is needed after release. Again, it would be nice if several other developers would adopt this mode of thinking. Considering we're in an age where games are released unfinished and so buggy they need a day one patch about the same size as the game itself, this should be hailed, as the patch updates for Pokemon are often minor tweaks to balancing some of the Pokemon. Speaking of balance, this seems to be conveniently left out of the controversy. Pokemon has been moving further into the PvP esport realm since Pokemon X and Y brought the series to Nintendo 3DS and online capability. Pokemon is, in my opinion, one of the top esports, being that the game requires a high level of theory crafting, but not so much in reflexes, yet is faster paced than Hearthstone and other CCGs. As anyone would agree, balance in a PvP environment is needed. However, the large number of Pokemon does make balance difficult. Looking at League of Legends, we can see how difficult balance is, as certain champions have becoming more recurring top picks our bans each season. Even Final Fantasy XIV's lead developer, Yoshi P, has admitted to having difficulty balancing jobs in a multiplayer PvE environment. In both cases, when a major change to the game has occurred, balancing absorbs a lot of resources. In saying all this, Game Freak may be taking a similar approach to Wizards of the Coast with Magic the Gathering, or Blizzard with Hearthstone. Due to the expansive number of cards in Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone, in order to ensure that newcomers to the game can compete on the same level as veteran players, the CCG cycle sets of cards out of the competitive scene while cycling in new cards, so as to remove the barrier of entry to obtain every card. Likewise, Pokemon may be moved into this, as not all previous Pokemon are available in later versions, and those Pokemon may be the only ones that are competitive. One other thing regarding all this is that technically the national decks will be available through Pokemon Home. At this time we don't know the full extent of what Pokemon Home will entail, other than it being an updated version of the Pokemon Bank storage system. Like Pokemon Bank, while previous versions will not be able to retrieve their Pokemon sent to Pokemon Home, including Pokemon Go and Pokemon Let's Go, Pokemon that appear in Pokemon Sword and Shield and future versions will be able to be sent to those games. Pokemon sent to Pokemon Home from Pokemon Sword and Shield will be able to be retrieved back to the games. This will probably follow the similar suit to Pokemon Sun and Moon, in which the Pokemon that had entered Sun and Moon cannot be traded back to Pokemon X and Y. Considering I haven't played Pokemon Sword and Shield as of this recording, I will reserve judgment about the game until I have played it, and since I have yet to see or hear any reason why I should boycott this generation, I'll be picking the game up and playing it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. If you didn't, hey, the dislike button is right over there. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Electron, and I'll see you next time.